powered higher yesterday. Even overnight, we continue to power higher. Bounced off R1 48.22. Bounced off there like a rubber ball overnight. Let's just zoom in there and get a little bit better picture. Looking at the daily profiles here too, and so far today, if we went and grind into a 5-minute on the daily, we do have some negative delta in here. Unlike yesterday. Yesterday was, pretty nuts. I mean, even though we were hitting all-time highs again and pressing those highs, we continued to show positive delta all day, which was pretty nuts. So what am I going to be looking for today? I don't know if I'm really going to be a fan of buying pullbacks here. I would like to get short, but I think kind of missed my spot last night. Wasn't up midnight, to short this thing if I was. If I was using an automated trading bot, it would have been nice because I would have shorted this up here at 42. But I'm not, so there you have it. So looking at the levels here today on the ES and looking at the pivots. So we've already breached R1, so that's off the table today. To the upside, I would say you're probably going to want to look back at possibly today's point of control, or actually yesterday's point of control, which is about 48.13. So possibly if we get a retrace back up to 48.13, I might take a shot on that short. You can see we bounced off that all night, and this is a 5-minute chart. I don't really like 5-minute charts, but just to kind of show what's going on here. You could see we were literally bouncing off that 48.13 almost all night in the overnight session. So I'm going to use that as an area as a possible short. Does look like the inventory is very light up there. And what inventory is there or was there overnight, the delta is all red. It's pretty much all red up there. So, hey, it's as good a spot as any. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm just going to mark this one out. So it's about 48.14. The hard trade is going to be to get long. And that continues to be the case, in my opinion. This is above. And this is just the overnight. We're just going to call this the overnight swing. I don't really know how else to label that. I mean, everybody's got, there we go. So anyway, 48.14 for a possible retrace short there. What did I do wrong? I did something. I used the wrong bracket, my JSON. So those of you who aren't aware, you can set up, what am I doing here? I know a lot of people are saying, well, what are you doing when you write all this? So basically, if you have a Discord, you can actually set up a, if you have Discord, you can set up an integration API almost, like a call to your Discord. And you can actually set up alerts in TradingView to post to your Discord channel. So that's how these hustlers do it. They basically set alerts in TradingView, and they put this context. And all this is JSON. So anybody familiar, anybody technical savvy, and even if you're not, you just put in this JSON code here in your alert, and it will post into a Discord as an alert, into a channel. Yeah, it's that easy. Anybody can do it. Right? Even some jackass like me, some washed up old fart like me can actually even do it. And so here's the bright. Again, if you want to know what the context is here, I'll give you the syntax. It's just you have to use those. You have to use a certain type of bracket and put quotes in certain areas, and it will it will post an alert in Discord. And then here's my Discord, which is not public yet. I'm still working on getting it back in motion. So don't ask for the link because it's not public yet. I'm still working on it. And when it does become public, it's going to be free. I'm not going to charge people. And I'm not going to upsell people either. You know, like, come to my Discord. I got 40,000 people. And then you get dumped off in some, like, welcome room. And then you sit there and you wonder, like, what's going on here? And then it's like, oh, you know, to get access to the other channels, you got to pay, you know, $50 a month. So I don't know what's going on with Discord. It looks like it's having a problem. It's trying to download it's trying to update. It looks like. And it's having a problem. And it's blowing up. So there's a problem with Discord today. I don't know what that's. Anyway, so I was just going to show you. I post this in here, and then it actually puts it into an alert. So even if you have your own personal Discord, because it's really not a bad idea to have your own Discord. Even if you don't invite anybody else, because the nice thing I find about having your own Discord is like you can kind of have like it's kind of like a journal of your stuff, of your trades, and it's like something you don't have to worry about, you know, putting it on a piece of paper, and you know it's pretty much done for you, and you can journal your stuff real time. And then if you want to share it with anybody, you can share it. And if you don't want to share it, okay, there it goes. Now it's installing. I don't know what's going on with it. It was blowing app. It was a blowing app. There it goes. Now it's starting. Let's see. It's spinning. It's spinning. It's spinning. So anyway, you could set up alerts, and then in here, in TradingView, you can go in and actually supply the URL that you get, right? And here's Discord. Here's Discord. It's a Discord. And here's my alerts channel. Again, this isn't public, so don't ask. So, and then this is what it does, right? And these are alerts. And these actually send these alerts out into the Discord. And you can send them anywhere. You want to send them to email, you can send them to email. You can send them to SMS. So if you want to send them to your phone, you can send them to your phone. You want to send them to your mistress's phone, you can send them to your mistress's phone. You know, whatever you want to do. You know? So it is pretty cool. And so there you have it. There's no magic involved with it. You know, everybody tries to make it seem like it's a big deal. It's not. And so you can have these alerts sent right to this chat. And I have them set right to this channel. So, and the way to do this is you go into this and go into server settings, and you come down here and you go into integrations. See where it says integrations? And then under integrations, this is where you actually create the hooks, right? You can see I have Twitch, I have ScrewTube, I have other webhooks, and then if you go in here, you can see I have trade alerts, and then Captain Hook is that's just a, right? And these are my trade alerts that I actually put in Discord, and then you copy the URL, right? And I can see I have it going to the alerts channel, right? And so I copy that, and then I put that into my settings on TradingView. So if I do create alert, where the hell did I do that? I'm trying to remember. Okay, here, where it says notifications under alerts, you just put in that webhook, and it will post your shit right into Discord if you want. You could send it to email, right? You could actually have this could be any web URL. This doesn't have to be Discord. So if you have another API or some other thing that you want to send it to, just send it here. It's a simple API. So anyway, there you go. So you can create your own alerts too, and have fun with that. So I think it's important for people to know that, because I know there's so many charlatans out there who make it seem like it's such a big deal to have an alert service. It's the easiest thing in the world to set up anymore. They have made it idiot proof. idiot proof. And then you can actually, what a lot of people do and what these alert services do is in that webhook that I just showed you, they'll actually have that sent to like a SMS service. Like, so there's services out there that will provide you a SMS service to forward those to a group, a distribution group. And so when you're paying for these alert services, you're basically paying for whoever the charlatan is selling you the alert service. You're basically paying for him, for his service to have it distributed is really all you're doing. You know, because I doubt any of those guys are that sophisticated to write their own. I know a couple of people who wrote their own. They're using Python and using Java. But anyway, that's kind of my engineering background coming out there. So anyway, let's talk about what's going on with the ES. As I said, I'm going to be looking for this spot up here for possible entry short, which is 48.13. I don't think we get back up. We're going to need a lot of catalyst to start talking like R2 here, 48.30. I mean, there's got to be a lot of mojo in the market for us to start talking those levels. Some of the spots down here that I like for longs, I do like 47.89, which is S2. So 47.89. And so it's content in quotes. Did I spell it right? No. Content in quotes with a colon, and then your alert, whatever it's going to be. And then you can put whatever message you want in here. And this is 12, God, 20. I still got to do Christmas shopping, man. I haven't Christmas shopped for anybody. Nobody. And I mean, I just got to get something for my wife. I got to find something that looks, I got to go get something that makes it look like you put some thought into it. Isn't that horrible? I'm sure she does the same thing for me. I know it. But what's Christmas anymore? I don't really need anything. I go buy it myself anyway. So that's really kind of it on the ES. I mean, outside of anything really happening, I think we're going to be in a pretty tight trading range. And that's about it. That's all I got to say about that. Now, what I like to do is kind of flip the script here a little bit and go into crude oil, because we got a lot of crap going on right now with crude oil, with the Red Sea. And, you know, that seems to be all that was splashing on the screens yesterday for crude oil about, you know, they're not going to be pushing shipments in through the Red Sea and all this other stuff, you know, blah, 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 blah. And it's really kind of caused crude oil to change course, because before that, it was in free fall. I mean, it literally was. I mean, so it's been a complete reversal, and it's all geopolitical stuff right now. So the problem with the geopolitical stuff in crude oil is that usually by the time John Q. Public piles in and gets on top, it's too late. And then something's going to come out, some headline, and say, oh, remember all that shit we were talking about with the Red Sea? Scratch that. We figured it out. We're going to send 6 destroyers with every tanker, and if anybody fucks with it, we're going to blow them out of the water. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay. You know, and then crude oil tanks like $4 one day, and everybody's sitting around with their thumb up their ass like, oh, what happened? And that's kind of what I see going on here. So anyway, needless to say, the spot, I think today, if you're looking for a short, I'm going to be looking up here at like 76.15. I'm really not going to trade these pivots. You can see we're bouncing a little bit off of R2 here today, which is about 74.94. And we didn't really reverse much. We just kind of chopped. Let me get to a 5-minute and zoom in. That looks much better. You can see we're chopping around up here. And the thing that's a little bit alarming, at least for trying to get short today, is that there is like no negative delta in here at all. This is the daily today on the 5-minute. There is no negative delta. This is like green as it gets, man. You know, there's a couple of patches here and there. But this is clean and green all the way up, which is a little disturbing when you're trying to get short. But sometimes the hardest trades to take are usually the best. So 76.15, we're going to mark that. There is a point of control from back in, oh shit, what? Let me see. Let's go back to the 1 hour, confuse everybody to hell. I want to say it's back from, where is it? It was here. Here it is. So it's a point of control, and there's a couple of them. You can see there's a whole patch around here where there's a lot of pox. A lot of pox up there. Puck, 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 like a chicken. A lot of pox back there, but that's from back in, when the hell was that? That was back November 30th. Right? Yes, November 30th. So 76.17. Pretty strong pop there, too. And you can see there's a bunch of high volume nodes there. So we're going to mark that one 76.16. 16. It's 16, 15. Come on, a couple pennies, man. So 76.16. And that's above. And this is a POC from 11/30/2023. And I usually have these marked. On a, but I think I lost a lot of them when the contract rolled, and it usually happens. So anyway, 76.17 to the upside. I would not fiddle around in here today. We kind of look like we're going to grind. You got those crude oil inventories coming out at 10:30 today, so be aware of that if you're trading crude oil. So if you're going to do something, make sure you're done and out and flat by 10. I usually like to be done by about a half hour before those numbers come out because it can get a little crazy at times. As far as buying pullbacks here, I kind of like the pivot area around 73.50. Now we're looking at some big moves, right? That's a, it's 100 points away from where we're at. But the way crude oil has been moving, we can move around in that area with no problem at all. The other reason, I like 73. Was it 73.50? You have a couple of points of control up here. You have 76 and 65. So I kind of like that spot. If we get back down there, could be. And you look at if you look at the profile over here, there is a pretty good, strong band of green in there, enough to cause a bounce, right? I'm not looking to bequeath that trade to my kids, but I'm just looking for a quick pop and a high probability entry, and I think that represents a pretty good spot, as good a spot as any, anyway. All right. And I didn't spell that right because I suck. Because I'm a moron. Let's see. Below. All right. And this is the pivot point. And this is 12/20. 2023. All right. So that's it on crude oil. I don't really want to spend too much more time on that because I think it's going to be a chop house today. I think you're going to get cut up. If you kind of play around with that. So if you stick to the spots, I think you'll be all right. Trade the edges and don't fiddle in the middle, I guess, is probably the big statement today. And then let's look at the soybeans here. So soybeans cut me up yesterday a bit. It was weird. It cut me up. I took a pretty decent loss, like $600. But then I managed to come back with one contract, and I was actually up to break even, and I decided to just let it ride. So I let one contract ride. It actually retraced. I got all my money back, and then it backed down and went all the way and then stopped me out. And I ended up breaking even, and so I ended up losing money on the day. So anyway, not every day is a success. So as far as soybeans are concerned, I do like 1320 today, which is S1. And I know everybody's waiting for this one. Everybody waits all day for me to talk about soybeans. And I know everybody's like, soybeans, what are you train that for? It's, it's what I do. I don't, it is what it is. It is what it is. I like trading soybeans. What are you going to do? All right, so 1320, you can see we didn't quite touch it overnight, and even yesterday, we didn't quite get down there, but it did bounce literally every time. So there's something going on down there. We do have that gap, right? So it's holding this gap. And that's possibly what's going on. I mean, again, I don't fucking know what's going on, but it seems to be they're holding that gap. Holding the gap, man. Holding the gap. And then I kind of like this area up here. You can see there's a point of control at 1331. And this was the target. This is actually where I was looking for yesterday. We bounced and we got up to 1329. You can see this candle right here. We got up to about 1329 and we quickly reversed yesterday. And that's where I should have bailed out and I didn't. And I hung in there and it retraced all back down. I ended up getting stopped out. But anyway, what are you going to do? That's just what happens. But I like this area up here because you have a number of points of control. You got a point of control from back on the 17th, the 18th, and then you also have this band of green with some red delta up there. So to me, it's like, yeah, I kind of like that. The buyers seem to be getting exhausted up there. So I'm going to mark 1331. It's 1331.25 today. And I think if that turns out today, that will be the trade of the day, folks. Yes, it will. I'm telling you it will. I'm telling you because I'm telling you. I don't do it because I'm telling you. I'm just a jackass just like everybody else, right? I'm sitting here in my little home office making it seem like I know what I'm talking about, right? I'm just having some fun. So anyway, that's a point of control from back on 12/17/2023. And so I think that poses. So I think soybeans is in a spot where it's kind of, if you look back, especially over the last 3-4 trading days, we have been stuck in this range, and eventually it's gone right. We're going to break one way or the other, either to the upside or the downside. It's usually what happens. And that's all I got to say about that. Then last but not least, the bonds. Bonds have shown some huge resilience. And thing is, though, is all week, like here's just the last few trading days going back to the 13th. You could see we are like range bound, but we are like banging on the door here to break out. I mean, bonds are literally just like smacking. You could actually, you want to get your third grade drawing skills ready here. You could draw whatever you want up here, whatever it is that makes you feel good from your third grade drawing class. You want to get your crayon out. You want to get your Sharpie. In fact, we didn't have Sharpies. Like, Sharpies were expensive when I was in third grade. In fact, it was like a big deal. And the Sharpies were good back in the day, right? When you were in third grade, because you could smell those caps and you could get wasted. Right? And we used to love it. I remember third grade, it was like, oh, get the teacher Sharpie. Let's get stoned, right? Isn't that crazy? In third grade, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. But we just knew smelling that thing, man, made you feel like friggin' house on fire. It was like early forms of meth, right, for us Gen Xers. So anyway, you could draw whatever you want, but we are banging on the door to break out. And if we do, it's quite possible we like really explode. It's really quite possible we explode. I mean, because it has been banging on the door up here at about, about 124.10 or so. And as I mentioned yesterday with the bands, I mean, they got some room to go, man. I mean, you start zooming out and you start looking left, right? It's always a good idea to just like looking left on bonds. I mean, look at this. Look what this has got left. I mean, there's so much more room. I mean, I always get a chubby when I look at this, man, because like, you know, looking at this compared to the ES, it's like, again, where's your opportunity lie? That's what you got to look at in the markets. And, you know, the opportunity is in the bond market right now because it's got so much more room to go. I mean, and even if they hint at a possible interest rate cut, again, these are going to explode. And so anyway, that's it. I don't have a real trade for that, other than what I've mentioned in the past. For a trade on those, you really got to just be looking at. You really got to be looking at things like TLT and stuff you as a consumer can buy. You know, you're not buying bonds outright. I mean, let's face it, you're not going to go buy a bond contract and hold on to it. You need to use some product, whatever it is, TLT, TBT, whatever. You know, some interest rate sensitive. I mean, even to a lesser extent, even utilities, because if rates tank and start to tank hard because of all this, you're going to be real surprised at what am I doing here? What the frig am I doing? You're going to be real surprised at how quick stuff like utilities and bonds just go nuts. All right, so what the hell am I doing? Here we go. I don't know. Is anybody's trading view actually weird lately? Because I know mine is just really kind of messed up. It's been just really weird. We don't need pivots. We don't need this one. We don't need this one. We don't need this one and this one. So there it is. So again, this is what you're going to want to trade is TLT. You can also trade the TBT. You know, I mentioned this in the trader buddy of mine actually trades the TBT. The thing about the TBT and the TLT, right? The TBT is an inverse. So if you're going to want to go long bonds, you go short the TBT. So, you know, instead of doing call spreads on the TLT, you'd be buying put spreads on the TBT. I don't think you're really going to get, and on an inverse ETF, I don't think you're really going to get the movement that you'll get in a TLT on the upside. I mean, you can see this thing kind of bottoms out at 26 and it's trading at 29. You know, and it's because of that whole inverse bullshit that goes inside the portfolio. And then usually these inverse things, these inverse and these doubles and these triple type ETFs, they're only usually good really, really short term. Because the way they're leveraged so much that they, you know, over time, all that leverage kind of depletes itself. And that's kind of, I think, what will happen with a TBT. But anyway, just throwing it out there. I don't trade it. I think it's a piece of shit. But, you know, again, my buddy's trading it. He's been in it. He's doing well in it because he's long puts. But anyway, it's the TLT. And then I am going to go into, let's see, Tasty Trade and talk about a couple of trades here. I can log in. Yeah, so what I use, so here, for futures, I use AMP Futures as my futures trading broker. I also use Thinkorswim for stocks most of the time, but if when I do options and shit, I use Tasty Trade. And the reason I do is because their interface, and look, they all suck. Let's face it. They're all brokerage firms. They all have their goods, their bads, and their ugly. The reason I use Tasty Trade The reason I use Tasty Trade, though, is because their options stuff really is. I mean, the analysis that they have on their option stuff is really good. I mean, it really is. And their commissions, I like the way they roll with their commissions. They basically only charge you when you enter. They don't charge you anything when you go out. So it's basically a front-end loaded thing. So instead of paying commission on the way in and the way out, they just kind of hit you all at once up front, and then on the way out, they don't hit you with anything. Which is cool. I'm down with that. That's, to me, that's pretty cool. And I'm just trying to bring it up here. I don't know what's going on with it. It's having a problem here as I speak, telling you how great it is, and I can't even get freaking into it. It's awesome. I love it. Like I said, everything's a piece of junk. Everything is, what? It's all, the way I always like to explain software, it's all software to the cheapest bidder. And, it's sad, but it kind of is, there's so much truth in it. And I think the problem with a lot of these applications that we trade with, I think the problem is that a lot of them have like all this legacy code embedded in them. And so they inherently are like this big sloppy piece of shit that's been patched over and over and over again. And then you'll have code that's, all right, so they don't use it anymore. So rather than remove it, they comment it out and they still leave it in there. And it's like, okay, that's nice. And what it does is it makes the code sloppy because it just makes it bigger. You figure all this commented code at some point, still that size of that program is still going to be the size of that program because that code's in there. So, because at the end of the day, it's a freaking file that's compiled. So, anywho. And this is still having problems. I don't know what's going on with it. It's not loading. Very good. I didn't know why. Let's see what is going on with this. I didn't know. But anyway, I was going to go over some actual trades today. And it's another works. So that sucks. Because I don't want to just sit here and blow wind like, meh, 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 meh. I like to show people, hey, look, this is, I like to say, here's what I'm doing. Here's some trades. Because there's quite a few, to me, there's quite a few setups, nice setups in some of the, what the frig with this? Why is this doing this? This is bad. This is bad. It keeps going to this dashboard. I don't know what the deal is. Why it keeps going to this dashboard. Every time I click something, it goes to this stupid dashboard. All right. Well, all right. That was a bust. Hang on a second. Hold still. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I know there's 5,000 people. Was there 2 of you guys? All right. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I'm trying. I don't know. I don't know. This is messed up. Let me try again. All right. So anyway, long story short, or long story even longer, I'm going to be looking at some a couple of credit spreads here on some of these bigger stocks that have really been running. Like one particularly is AMD. Now, it doesn't have a ton of volatility, so I don't really... wait, here it goes. Here it goes. All right, there it goes. Okay, good. All right, there it is. Let's stick this in its own window. All right, there we go. All righty. Oh, and everybody sees my accounts. All right, that's awesome. All right, how about that shit? All righty. Let's do this. And there we go. That's a little bit better. There we go. There we go. All right. So AMD. Now I know volatility is not really great. So anyway, we're getting back TLT, right? TLT. So I think the trades here to do, and again, you're going to want to do these on when bonds are not up. So today is not going to be a good day for this. IB rank really isn't that great, but I like, as you notice, and I've been piling in. I like these calls out in September and October, because what's going to happen out in September and October next year, right? The election. And do you really think they're going to let interest rates go up before an election? Shit, no. No matter who's in office, right? Powers that be want the powers that be. So I'm going out to September, and I like the 100, 105s. You can see I'm already in those. So I've actually been just buying these every time there's a pullback. Every time there's a pullback in the TLT. Now, another way you could play it, which I actually may start doing this because I'm adding in, I actually like selling the 100 put. You could sell a 195 put spread, bring in a pretty nice credit, 217, right? Try and do this on a pullback for about 220. And here's what this looks like on the curve. Now I have to clean this up a second because it's going to look like a mess. Let me just get rid of that just so that looks cleaner. But this is kind of your curve, and this is what I like about Tasty Trade, right? They put this right in graphical terms. So like, here's your whole break-even analysis, right? Isn't that awesome? Look, that's so cool to me. That's so cool. It's nice and green in color. So here's your spread. So selling 195 put spread, yeah, out in September. Yes. If you could do that for 220, got about a 56% probability of profit. Gives you about 15 deltas. So that's about, being long 15 shares of TLT. Not a lot of theta, so you're not going to get a lot of burn. But you'll burn this premium will just evaporate if TLT breaks over $100. It will just evaporate, and the IV rank, and especially the implied volatility on these options, will just collapse. All right, and then you're not risking a ton of money, $280, right? So you're only using $280 worth of buying power, and you're getting synthetically long. And there you go. And it's a little in the money, but there's a trade for you. You want to go on the call side, I would suggest pretty much the same thing. Let's just go back into the table. Pretty much the same thing as I had, but instead of doing the 100, 105 here, because you're kind of a little late in the game on a pullback, I would go up to like the 105, 110. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. Look, I don't normally like to buy options out of the money. I don't. I think it's usually suicide, because what usually happens is that, the theta and the time value of your options will just, destroy you. Thing is theta is really not a problem here, because you got theta is literally non-existent because we're out in September. Now, if I was doing these in January, and I'll do a comparison. I'll do the same spread in January as opposed to September. Time isn't really a problem here for you. You're not going to get that erosion on the premium like you would if you didn't have time. I mean, these things have 275 days. You're going out almost a year. So you're kind of getting rid of that whole time value. Nice thing about this trade, only going to cost you $135. Now, look, you got a 36% probability of profit. That's because it's out of the money. And then you just got to bank on between Now in September, our bond's going to be 130, 135, 140. And if you think that, which I do, I think they're going to be up near 140 by around this time. They may even be more. That translates this into being about 115, maybe 120. Not a bad trade. And again, you're not betting the bank. Right? Risk reward here is pretty nice. You're basically spending $130, 135 to potentially make 365. So that's not a bad play. And then, do this accordingly. Depending on how many times you want to do it, how many times, that's fine. But there you go. There's like another trade in the TLT. So let's talk about this trade. And this one's not going to hit well with a lot of folks. Oh, well, anyway, let me go back. I'm such an idiot. I want to do the same trade I'm going to do same trade in January. And you'll see what the delta is, what the theta is. Theta is probably insane. It's not going to cost you anything. I mean, for this case, if you're going to do this in January and you're going to buy the 105, you're just better off, rather than do the spread, you're better off just buying the 105 call. Just buy the 105 call. Because for $36, just buy the 35. Don't even do a spread. Because it's only $35. You literally got no probability of profit. But look at the theta on this. Right? Theta's high. You got, you're going to be chewing 2 cents plus a day. This thing doesn't move. So the longer this stays below 105, you're just going to get chewed. Your premium's going to get chewed away. But for $36, who gives a shit? Now that I look at it, who cares? So you want to take a flyer? That's not a bad flyer, in my opinion, on the TLT. The 35 call, it's, $6, $7 out of the money. Thing is, you just got to be aware that if this doesn't move fast and we don't get any real movement in the next week, and this doesn't pop above 100 or start getting near 105, you're not really going to want to hold on to this. Right? It's not going to be worth it. Because what's going to happen, and this is what it looks like on the curve, what's going to happen is that this break, you basically need this thing to be about 196 in less than a week and a half, or this is just going to deteriorate into nothing. So just be aware of that. So if you're looking for a flyer, that's really not bad. I thought it was going to be worse, but that's really not that bad. So there's another one for you in the TLT, the 105 call, $35. It's a lottery. There's no doubt about it. With a 12% probability of profit, that's a lottery ticket. So anyway, just some cheap ways to get long bonds without buying bonds. AMD. So full disclosure on AMD, I'm long stock. I've owned AMD longer than probably most of you have been around on planet Earth. And for those of you who are Gen X like myself, and I'm early Gen X, you're talking like I'm like 2-3 years away from the cutoff and being a boomer. So anyway, needless to say, I've owned AMD forever. I've sell calls against it. They've gotten called away. I've sell puts on it. So I just want that to be full disclosure. Like, I'm not hating on AMD. It's just like face it, the thing has just been an absolute monster. And at some point, right, it's going to have its day where it's going to get shellacked. It happened in NVIDIA. Hasn't happened recently, but it happened in NVIDIA after it ran up. Happened to Apple. Happened to Microsoft. Happens to all of them. And that's kind of what I'm seeing. It's like a pure overbought play. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm not going to buy puts. I don't want to buy puts. Because I don't like buying puts. Because buying puts, I don't know, it's never really worked well for me unless I've done real short-term stuff. So I'm going out to March. Yeah, I'm going out to March, and I'm selling a 160 call. Now, I could sell a 160 call and not worry about the buying power because I own the stock, right? So it's a covered call for me. But what I am going to do is I'm not going to sell, I'm not going to divulge how many shares I have, but I'm probably going to sell a little more calls than I own stock. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to negate my delta, right? So I guess long story short is here, like if you own the stock, you're delta positive, right? 100%. If you own the stock, basically 100% delta, you own the stock. So by selling calls, if I sell as many calls as I own stock, I will actually be delta neutral, right? Flat at some point, if pretty much for the most part. I mean, it's not exactly 1-for-1. So in order to get delta negative in my long stock position, there's something a lot of people don't even understand. So if you want to get short and I have a long stock position, I have to bring on higher negative delta than I do positive, right? Simple math. We all learned this in maybe second grade? I think second grade, right? We did the apples or whatever it is. I don't even know what I learned in second. I don't even know what I probably learned this last week. Who am I kidding? But that's really the idea here. So I need to sell more negative delta calls to make up so that I'm actually negative or short my position on AMD. Anyway, but what I'm doing is I'm going to be selling the 160. Now, for those who just can't sell the 160, and I don't know why this doesn't have any buying power. I think, because it was having a problem connecting for whatever reason. But for those who don't have the buying power to do this, you need buying power. You would sell the spread. So sell a 160, a 170, or a 165, 160, 165 spread. Got the possibility to make $100. This if you do the spread. Max loss is $395. You're getting synthetically short. It's almost like shorting 4 shares. Now you might say oh, that's not a lot. That's not a lot, but hey, risk reward. You're risking 300, make 100. That's a pretty damn good risk reward. Now if I did that the other way, and I said, oh, if you buy these calls and you spend 100. And you make it 300, everybody say, well, that's a great trade, right? Yeah, but if you do it the reverse, that's where everybody gets confused. This is buying puts in reverse is what that is, right? And you're getting your money up front. So you get your max profit up front. And then over time, that deteriorates, right? And you're hopefully looking for it to expire into nothing. That's the trade in AMD. I'm going to March. I know it's got 86 days. The reason I'm going to March is because I want to give it a little bit of time. I want to get past kind of the Christmas, January kind of holiday. I'm going to be past earnings on AMD for the end of the year. And so there's the trade. And I wish IV rank was a little higher, but beggars can't be choosy. I probably get a little more juice in this trade if the IV rank was higher, but it's not. So there it is. And this is what it looks like on the curve. That's not what it looks like on the curve. Why is it all screwed up? Oh, it's screwed up because it can't connect. Oh, that's right. It wasn't connected to it. So there. But anyway, there's the trade in AMD, and that's pretty much all I got as far as trades. And then next, as far as stocks are concerned, and then next, I'm just going to talk I see there's a couple of earnings going on. I just wanted to take a look at these. Nike. Let's take a look at Nike. And before I do this, let me try and disconnect here and reconnect and see if I can connect, because it's not, for whatever reason, Tasty Trade won't connect to the freaking service. It won't connect. I don't know what the problem is, but we're going to look at Nike. They got earnings tomorrow, and we'll take a look at that real quick. All right, today, yeah, this is having all kinds of problems. I don't know what's going on with Tasty Trade, but they suck this morning. All right, that's nice. Oh, there it goes. Oh, it logged me out. That's nice. Way to go. Piece of garbage. What a piece of garbage. What a piece of garbage. All right, so anyway. What a piece of crap. Yeah, this is like bad. This is like, I don't know what the problem is here. It's definitely not me because all my other stuff is connected. So I didn't know. I don't know what's going on. So let's take a look at Nike. Nike's got earnings on the tomorrow. So Nike, pretty good IV rank of 40. They're looking for, I'm going to probably do the Januaries. 30 days on those. They're looking for an $8 move. So let's take a look at the, yeah, and this isn't pulling any data. Actually, we need to change this to open int. Let's try almost the one standard deviation. One standard deviation is not going to pay you direct. Let's go right outside the expected move. The 114, 131. Wow, look at that buying power. Isn't that crap? That sucks. That's a crap. I'm not paying no. So we're going to do, let's try doing, I think it was with Nike though, is they have a tendency to, Nike has a tendency to kind of explode or crash on earnings. Let's do an iron condor and then bring that buying power down. I'll probably do the 115, 110. That's a little more reasonable. That's a pretty decent amount of juice in there. I try to do this one. All right, so here's Nike. Earnings trade for January, 30 days out. Not bad stats on this. Probability of profit, 58%. Probability of profit to make 50%. Max profit, 65. You are basically delta neutral here. 0.79. Good theta number in there for an iron condor to have a theta up in the threes is pretty damn good. Max profit 175, max loss 325. You're not using much buying power. You are within the expected move. It's an $8 expected move come January. So, you were right on the bubble here. Your outside strikes, your 110, 135, are outside the one standard deviation move. This is the one standard deviation move. Now, the reason why I'm actually inside here, because if I actually even pop these out, one strike, this premium is just going to go away and vanish. It'll probably give me a better probability of profit, but it's not going to pay me enough to do it. So there you go. I kind of like that trade in Nike. And again, worst comes to worst, it blows out one side. You got to roll into the next expiration. No big deal. Worse shit's happened. But there you go for Nike on earnings. And that's really it. None of these other ones really look that interesting to me. I see MU is there. They're after the bell today. IV rank kind of sucks on that. Let's look at this. $5 move. They're not paying me enough. Candidly, they are not paying me enough to do a strangle in here. They are not paying me enough. Let me change this. I'm using my IRA. That's why I need my account with buying power. They are not paying me enough to $900 worth of buying power to do an outside the expected move strangle. That's just not enough. That's got to be $2 or $3 at least. Now, decent probably. Here's what it looks like on the curve. I mean, it looks good. It looks good. It's inside the expected move. 70% probability of profit. I'm just not real keen on using $1,000, $960 to bring in $1.80 or $180. Just not my bag. I would expect this theta to be a little bit better too. It's not bad, but it's not great either. If I moved it, yeah, I can't even get outside the one standard. So if I move these outside the one standard deviation, it's going to pay me $1. So it's like, it's not worth it. So hard pass on Micron for earnings. I mean, let's just take a look at the chart on Micron. Chances are it's probably pretty toppy. Right? I mean, it's pretty toppy. I mean, it does have some room to go. You know, it does have like highs of 97. I mean, are they going to really kill earnings that much? You know, maybe you sell. I don't know. I don't know. Let's take a look at maybe you sell some puts here. I just don't know if you're going to pay you enough. I mean, you can't even get $1 for an outside the expected move put. So I'm gonna scratch that. So that's it. I put everybody to sleep, but that's it on stocks. And so have a good trading day today, and I will